Good morning, everybody. I would be talking about understanding the tissue response to a glaucoma surgery. Once the medical therapy fails, we resort to the surgical therapy, and the outcome of surgical therapy depends upon an individual's tissue response. Trabeculectomy is a surgery of contradictory concepts because one side we want the conjunctival wound to heal properly and completely, and on the other side we want our sclerostomy not to heal completely. It's almost striking a precarious balance between healing and not healing completely. And one of the chief factors which decides the difference between this tissue response vis-a-vis tissue response to other wounds in the body is the presence of aqueous in a trabeculectomy wound. So aqueous is one of the chief deciding factors because it has lots of cytokines and interleukins which modulate the wound. Why do we need to know about wound healing? Both from a structural as well as a functional point of view, this is very important because the bleb, it develops differently throughout the course of its progression, and a correct interpretation can help us to decide the course, whether we want to intervene at a particular point of time. A good bleb structurally would have an absence of a zone which is completely filtering and completely non-filtering. There would be a paucity of blood vessels. It would have a moderate elevation. There would be presence of microcysts. So if we know structurally what to look for, we can modulate the post-operative course of the surgery. From a functional point of view, if there is wound contraction, if there is scar formation in the early course of the surgery is likely to fail because of an increased outflow resistance and a subsequent intraocular pressure elevation. Because that would lead to a reduction in the bleb surface area. It would reduce the porosity of the bleb wall as determined by the thickness of the bleb in cases if there is a Tenon's cyst or if there is a development of an encapsulated bleb. And it would also reduce the volumetric absorptive capacity of the surrounding tissue. This is more likely seen in limbal-based blebs vis-a-vis the fornix-based blebs because of the formation of a ring of steel. So how is a filtration surgery different from the rest of the surgeries? Because there are three major things which are playing in this surgery. One is the presence of subconjunctival tissue, which is very immunoactive tissue, which throws a good inflammatory response, and that is very, very prominent in young patients or in patients with a pre-existing inflammatory condition. It has an immune privileged system of its own. There is presence of blood-ocular barrier and an absence of lymphatic drainage systems. And here we are bypassing the trabecular meshwork, and there is a loss of phagocytic function. It's important to know the cascade of the wound healing because you need to know this so that you can intervene at the right point. And that would be involved in the application of the concepts of the pharmacological agents which we use in the post-operative course. So once you do a surgery, the plasma proteins and blood cells are released and they result in the formation of a fibrin-fibronectin clot. There is a replication of cells and immigration of macrophages and fibroblasts in the area where you have created the incisions. New capillaries grow in this area, and as the time passes, these fibroblasts, they synthesize collagen and fibronectin, resulting in the formation of a granulation tissue. With increased collagen synthesis over a period of time, capillary resorption, and disappearance of fibroblasts, sometimes a dense collagenous subconjunctival scar forms. So there are three phases of wound healing. The first phase, which lasts for the initial first week, is the inflammatory phase, where there is recruitment of lots of cells in the area of the surgical wound. There is a recruitment of leukocytes, macrophages, and lymphocytes. And here, if we see at times on the bleb towards the left side, there is a lot of vascularization, and that is because of recruitment of all these cells which release interleukins and cytokines. So if we have excessive corkscrewing of vessels and angry-looking blood vessels in the area of the wound, that is because of an initial inflammatory response. Going on after a week, we enter the proliferative phase again, where the fibronectin and the collagen synthesis begins. And if if nothing is done at this point of time, there are likely chances that this sort of a bleb, which is very angry looking, may develop either a tenon cyst or an encapsulated cyst by week 2 or 3. Otherwise, in a normal course, the bleb goes on to have a normal remodeling and a cross-linking of the collagen fibers in that area. Coming to the early acute inflammatory phase, here in this bleb, there is so much of inflammation that we can see angry looking corkscrewed blood vessels, and this is a sign enough that there is fibrosis undergoing underneath the conjunctiva, and that's the point where you need to intervene if you want your bleb to survive. Because at this point of time, there is recruitment of active inflammatory cells, there are more mitotic cells, so it would be good to recruit, intervene at this point of time if you would like to give a 5-fluorouracil, or if you would like to do increase the amount of steroids or give an indomethacin at this point of time, that would really help. Conjunctival inflammation, which is persistent or which has been there because if the patient was on multiple drugs, that can influence the outcome, the postoperative outcome. And these conjunctival epithelial cells, they continue to express surface antigens even several months after the surgery. So following them up initially is a very good idea, but don't leave a bleb which has angry looking blood vessels. Keep following up the patient and intervene at right points of time, either with steroids or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents. In the late fibrotic phase, there is an increased expression of TGF-beta2 and extracellular matrix genes, and there is recruitment of the subconjunctival fibroblasts and mitotic cells. So the changes keep on going on, so it is very, very imperative to keep following our blebs over a long period of time. The success of any filtering surgery depends upon a close and meticulous follow-up. Most of the times we see that the patients have been on several medications before we decide to take them up for surgery. So the tissue has been primed by a long-term topical therapy, and that induces a cellular response, as I mentioned earlier. And the fibroblast phenotype is also altered, and that activates a very profuse fibrotic response, leading to formation of tenon cysts in these such patients. So mitomycin C or 5-FU can halt the cellular growth of these aberrant fibroblasts in these areas. Ring of steel, as we see, is very, very common in limbal-based flaps if we are not doing an adequate posterior dissection. So conjunctiva, Tenon's capsule, and episclera are all inseparably adherent to each other, and they sort of form a demarcation, and the aqueous cannot go beyond this ring of steel, and it's usually seen in anti-metabolite augmented filtering surgeries. Mitomycin C and 5-fluorouracil, they not only inhibit the fibroblast proliferation, but they also cause long-term growth arrest, but also induce an apoptosis. And these arrested fibroblasts can prevent inflammatory T-cell lymphocytes. So it's good to use these anti-metabolites, but the point is to do a good posterior dissection so that they don't form a restrictive area right in the front of the bleb. Lately, Ologen has come into use, and it's a collagen implant, and it provides a scaffold for the growth of fibroblasts and guides the fibroblasts to grow through the matrix pores in a very random and diffuse fashion rather than in an organized scar-like fashion. So this way, the bleb maintains a height, and over a period of time, this implant resolves, and we get a good medium-sized elevated bleb with a well-organized collagen tissue. In drainage implants, there is a formation of fibrous capsule around the end plate in about 8 to 10 weeks post the surgery. And the aqueous humorate pools in the potential space between the end plate and the surrounding tissue. The only thing here is that if the thinner the capsule around the plate, the better is the absorption of the aqueous. So try avoiding too much of dissection. It should be neat and meticulous dissection so that there is not too much of fibrotic response and a thin capsule forms around the plate. Etometabolites have not been found to be of any significant advantage in drainage implants. It's one good thing to follow up a patient clinically, but at times imaging devices may save the day and may provide you any additional information which you may miss during the clinical examination. So anterior segmentosity can provide a good insight about the characteristics of a bleb. It can differentiate between a bleb which is getting very flattened or which has a diffusely thickened conjunctiva. So you can decide whether needling would be helpful in cases where the bleb is absolutely flattened. Needling is very helpful where you have still some amount of fluid underneath the flap and there is an elevation of the conjunctiva. So whatever I've mentioned, if we apply the concepts clinically, in the acute inflammatory phase, giving non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, oral non-steroidal anti-inflammatory in the form of indomethacin, if we are seeing a Tenon's cyst or an encapsulated cyst, may help. Increasing the frequency of topical steroids help. And if you see that you are getting, by week 3 or week 4, if you see that you are getting a marked encapsulation, you may try needling at this point of time, else follow up the patient well, and by 4 to 6 weeks you can do needling. MMT inhibitors have been shown to affect, but clinically most commonly we give non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and we can go ahead with the needling at the right point of time. But that situation would not arise if we intervene in the early post-operative period. So the take-home message is that the knowledge of mechanism of wound healing may augment bleb survival rates by a close bleb surveillance in the early period, an early intervention, and a multimodal therapy with long-term plans for suppression of fibroblastic activity. Thank you so much.